In Rogue Company, let's face it, everyone wants to be a good team player. Or do they? If you happen to be one of those people, then this is the perfect video for you, as I'm going to list out the 10 very best rogues that would instantly make you a better team player. Now, there's probably no surprise here. Dahlia's ability is valued at the highest level of Rogue Company, and the reason being, there is very little you can do to prevent her picking up her buddy. Not only that, but she can cover as she doesn't have to physically kneel down to revive you, which is very strong in its own right. However, whilst this may be a bit of an obvious pick, this next rogue may surprise you. Personally, I think this rogue has a very high skill ceiling. There is certain arrow locations all over the map that can be very strong for pulling off reveals, sometimes more than one reveal. But the reason you'll want to do this is give your team that all-important information to plan your attack or reshuffle your defense. Seeker right now for me is very unutilized, but not as unutilized as this very next rogue. Whilst this next rogue can be very situational, but when mastered and played correctly like Seeker, can be one of the strongest rogues in the game. Being able to hack your enemy's team prevents them from temporarily using their abilities, but also gadgets. Now, there is a small drawback to this. This will require some form of good team communication to maximize the usefulness of this. But getting rid of all of Trench's pesky barbed wire, trip mines or Anvil shields in one click, that's pretty good for me. But when pulling out your Pokédex files, you can always rely on this very next rogue. Shout out to AIM controllers with their brand new controller design. Adjustable mouse click trigger stops. And brand new remappable buttons. Be smart to use code bradUK at checkout to win more 1v1s. And you might get 30% off. It's you, me, and my bucket of the grenades. The Merv launcher is perfect for picking up a kill or two, or at the very least making the enemy team delay their push or change their locations. Dima can be perfect for making up space whilst being the master of space control. And I say that last quote lightly, because that's why the next rogue had to be Anvil. Now, Anvil is definitely the master of space control. Being able to deploy 2 shields makes him very strong for locking down areas and staying true to his defender status. Anvil is especially strong on maps like Enquires, where he can literally block lanes and entry points because they are so narrow. You can use this to your advantage, as the enemy team will need to shoot the shield or throw gadgets at it to try to take it down. Unless of course you've got a glitch on your team. But that's why the next rogue can be super useful. Runway. Being able to replenish your gadget cooldown is super useful in most situations. But being able to use that extra grenade to slow down enemy pushes or move people out of their defense zones is really strong. But equally as strong to get extra APS systems to prevent you and your team getting utility spammed, which can really help put your team in a strong position, which is why most people choose this very next rogue. Now, despite a slight nerf to Vi's Poison Pool, it is still incredibly strong for locking down areas for long periods of time. It is literally one of the only abilities in the game that has virtually no counterplay other than just waiting for it to finish. Vi can allow for teammates to hold off other lanes whilst defending, as she is one of the best in class at doing so. In fact, it's very close between Vi and the next rogue. Juke's defensive drones actually have a dual benefit. When deployed, if they go off, you know someone is approaching, so it's almost like providing intel. And this is really good, because as they push you, they literally have to turn around to take down the defensive drone, so you might get the first shot on them. And if you've got a gunny like me and you're smart and use aim controllers, you can finish them off. Very handy indeed. But Juke is a cheap way to get free intel. In fact, that's very similar to this next rogue. Phantom smoke can be super strong. Firstly, you don't need to buy smokes, but secondly, there is a dual benefit, just like the previous rogue. It can cover lines of sight, but also reveal enemies should they try to push through it. I actually love a dual purpose. But the other thing I love is the sheer brilliance of this last rogue. And we couldn't have completed the top 10 without our boy Twash. The barbed wires really do slow down a push. But just like Juke, they also let you know when someone is passing through them. I love Trench. He's actually a really strong rogue, but not as strong and important as this very next rogue. And I thought I would save the best till last, and arguably the most important on this list, and that is Saint. One of the advantages of having someone like Saint over Dahlia is that you can send your drone completely across the map to revive your teammates. You are not restricted by radius, nor just being able to use your ability on one teammate like Darlia. Saint can stack perks too, like Lifeline and Helping Hand, making him one of the most important rogues to keep your team in the battlefield. Now make sure you use one of these rogues in your team compositions if you want to climb the brand new leaderboard and earn this sick skin. But for more Rogue Company content like this brand new Season 11 Battle Pass, then check this video out here.